So now we're going to start the panel discussion. It is about... I lost the... Anyway, it's about how to influence, or how young people can influence and create their own future. And we also have David Sengeh and Kjetil Thorsen to discuss this matter, or subject. English.
Thank you, sir.
That is so interesting that the one paper I needed just like disappeared. It's like someone's doing it on purpose. Someone's trying to sabotage. Okay. So I think I'm going to start with you, Kjetil. How did you find your passion?
Who? How did it find me?
Okay. How did it find you?
Actually, by being actively engaged in something. It's like mathematics. At the beginning, you don't like it, but the more you learn about it, the more you like it.
Okay.
So that's when passion catches on, in a way. So in order to be passionate about something, you have to learn something about it. Your fantasy can drive you in certain directions, but it can never generate real passion. So the passion that you actually build up is by being involved with something that interests you at the beginning, and then it becomes a passion. Like building cabins when I was young, or...
But have you always been creative? Were you, like, did you build big Lego houses when you were a child?
No, I built playground houses for myself, and my friends, since I was very young. But again, also creativity is something you have to work for to get. You're not necessarily born with huge amounts of creativity. It's not like I got out of my mother and said, I want to create the opera house.
Yeah.
It's almost an impossibility. Anything we do is related to how we move forward and what interests us and how sincere we go about with the interests that we have. And then you become creative, and then you become passionate. Passion keeps us going, as I said. Creativity is distinctive. You build it up.
And David, how did you're like nodding? How did you start? Did you have it in you?
I think I was lucky enough to be with my parents who welcomed me to have conversations with them and to hang out with them. Like most of my real good friends are much older than I am, and I think just the ability to know and be given the opportunity to do stuff that was out of your league, like where there's a challenge element to it, and the more you learn, the more you try to do stuff that you can't do, the more your library of toolkits, the assets that you can use to be much more creative will improve. I think I just got an opportunity to engage with people who I could learn from and who were doing things that were very different from what I was doing.
And how about you, Kyrre? Weren't you supposed to be a musician or something?
When I was 15 years old, I was heading towards a career as being a cellist. And after a while, I was getting more and more interested in photography. And then when I was about 15 years old, 16, I decided to quit the career in music and pursue photography. And I've never regretted ever since. So I think it's really important that you can shift lanes if you want to, if you're either 15 or 35.
But when you find out that you're good at something, how do you make the most of it? How do you how do you know it's enough to build a career on, or Kjetil?
You don't. You have to take a chance. And once once you start recognizing certain qualities, you expand on them. And talent as such is something you have to work really hard to get. So in the end, it's about how you work, how you relate yourself to yourself. Are you honest to yourself while you're doing it? You keep asking yourself questions, you are uncertain. But there might be a certain way of, at a certain point, where you feel you're breaking the barrier of, okay, now let me stay for a while and do this. Doesn't mean I can't change or do other things, but it means at least let's try it for a while, see how it goes.
Mm. But how do you keep dedicated? Have there, for example, been times for you when you thought, I can't do this?
Yeah, I mean, very regularly I met with my professor on Friday. And at the end of the meeting, I was like, I don't think I know how to do this at all. And in fact, when I used to work on vaccines during my undergrad at Harvard, and when I was about to start at MIT, I went to my professor and I said, look, I want to do this prosthetics bank in Sierra Leone. And he goes, it wouldn't work. And I said, why? And he said, well, the socket is the most important part, and we don't know how to do it. And I asked him, do you know how to do it? He goes, no. I don't know how to do it either, so let's figure it out. We both started this project not knowing what we were doing at all. We had a general sense. And every now and then, the tools that we have, the limitations with the technology, you feel like, yeah, maybe this is not a good time. This project will come alive in 5 years when the technology has improved, but you don't really know when, and I think it's exciting. I think that's what's actually beautiful about it, is that you're doing something you don't know how to do. If you knew how to do it, it would be boring and we'll be all done.
Yeah.
True.
True. But do you think it's important that the family, in a way, like stimulates? Because when you're young and it's not everyone who supports being creative. Some parents just want, my mother wanted me to, of course now she supports me, but at some point before that, she was like always trying to say, but you don't want to be a doctor or something like that, something more practical, so it's not always that easy to get that support. Is it important that the family,
Yeah, I think so. And for me, of course, my family wanted me to be a musician in some way. But when I wanted to shift lanes, they also supported me. And now I think that, of course, they just want you to be happy. So when I'm happy with my profession and what I do, they are also. So I think as long as the parents can't try to motivate the children to follow their passion, I think that's enough.
Were your parents supportive?
Yeah, absolutely. But not everyone has that great pleasure. That's why I believe, for instance, universities should be open access. So you find out what you're doing, you swap, you change. And numerus clausus, which is called in Middle Europe, allows everyone to start any type of study that they would like to do. And during the sessions of first, second year, they start looking at, did I like that? But we've come into a production line of students which have to finish in 5 years. If you don't choose right at the beginning, you're out of the game. It's a problem, because it doesn't really have, doesn't allow you the slowness that you actually need. So for these people who don't really have that support needs to be found elsewhere. And that needs to be found in the searching of what you want to do and how you want to do it. So for me, yes, I had my parents, but I have many friends who didn't have support from their parents.
Okay, and how about you? Did you or do you recognize?
I think my mom still dreams that I'll be a medical doctor. It's about rebelling somehow. I don't want to be a medical doctor. It's a wonderful profession, but that's not what I want to do. And I think she accepts it because if you do something you're passionate about, you eventually do well. And I do like rebelling a little bit sometimes, and I think it's fun.
You should, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Kjetil, you just said that everyone don't have that support, but how can older generation help to like open the floor?
Yeah, so actually, for the students that we work with, right, so we are working in an environment where the young people in Sierra Leone, I mean, they're not the first people you go to when you want to solve problems. They are supposed to sit and wait for you to bring a solution to them. And so we have found out, actually, that we do need to have the support of their parents. And there's a lot of things which we don't talk about, and the fundamental thing is integrity, actually. So we all learn integrity, which is doing the right thing when nobody else is watching, or specifically when somebody else is watching you. We learn that from our parents, from our family, from the small circle we are in. And so it's very important that for us, as we do this now in Sierra Leone, that it's not just about giving kids, young people, an opportunity to make and create, that it's fundamentally important that you can model integrity, that they can practice it. It's also a skill that they need to do. Because at the end of the day, it does not matter what skill set they have. If they don't act with integrity, we'll still be in the same place where we are. And that's one use of the family and then the support system. And when it's not present in the family, we should be able to provide that. Otherwise, it's a lost effort, I think.
And Kyrre, you know, sometimes it's difficult to be taken like seriously when you're young, and you are young, and you started early. Have you ever experienced not being taken seriously?
Yeah, of course, and I still do. That's why I have this bad attempt of a beard, so to try to look a bit older. But I think that also could be an advantage, because if you are young, people can perhaps be a bit more open, because they're not so afraid of you. So I think in some ways it's easier for me to get to know people I don't know when I meet them. So I think it's still a good thing.
You look like you want to say something.
I always want to.
What did you have in mind?
No, I'm just, to me, the key word is generosity in our society, sharing whatever you have, whether it's ideas, thoughts, whether it's inventions, whether it's open source, whether it's how actually to take experience and not use that as a negative experience for saying, no, this is not possible, but using it actually to say, yes, I've experienced this, now it's your time to take that experience and do something with it. You know, it's like they say in India, this thing about copyright, that you should give to your mother because she gave birth to you. So in a way, we're dealing with not direct ownership, directly related to what belongs to us, but in a way of sharing knowledge, I think is the only way. Generosity is the only way you can evolve societies into a real strong cultural setting.
I don't take myself too seriously at all, so that's and not like in a self-demeaning way, but we're all learning. We're not experts. Nobody's a boss, and so I don't take it too personally if somebody doesn't take me seriously, because I'm gonna keep doing what I do anyway. It never really bothers me how somebody views what I do, and partly it's because I was able to be friends with people who were much older than I am, and I can be friends with my 2 or 3-year-old niece. And it's this belief that it does not matter really who you are, whether you're 5 and my little niece, or you're Bill Gates, you're all the same to me, and I treat you all with equal respect, and I demand the same respect from you. And then you never have to question whether somebody takes you seriously or not, really.
But are you all saying that when people don't take you seriously, that in a way like motivates you more? Because
for me it does, and also it's also quite simple. If you do a good job and are a all right person, people are going to respect you. I think that's at least my belief. And if they're not respecting you from the beginning, then it's almost a goal to convince them to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, and you're just, here's my picture in your
Yeah.
face. And how do you use your creativity, yeah, to something good?
And I think some elements of which you just spoke about. For me, I love being in a situation where I'm solving a problem that's global. So the way you connect the human body to machines is a global problem. Rich or poor, whoever you are, at some point you'll need a machine on your body. If it's a brace or an ankle brace or whatever it is that goes on our body. And we don't know how to connect the body to machines comfortably at all, and it's a very difficult problem. And being able to understand the science behind that is exciting. But more importantly, it's about having everybody have access to that ability. It's so much fun and joy to think about these problems where I am. And it shouldn't matter that I'm at MIT at all. It pains me to see that I can experience that and other people in other parts of the world cannot, right? And so how I want to use my time, as I said, really was to make sure that other people have the same opportunity. Because it's so much joy. When you create this building and you're in there, you feel great. It's exciting because you made it. I feel like it's cruel to not give other people that opportunity. It's the best gift we can have.
But how can we give them that opportunity?
You build tools that enable other people to build. So you build your product that you have should be an enabling thing. We form partnerships such that we build products that enable young people wherever they are to take the first step to create. You give them the spaces. We were just talking backstage about what a creative space will be like and how you kind of force people to be social. You have people engaged, right? So I think one of that is within the space that you provide for creativity. Another element of that is the tools that you provide that enable people to make. And just the inspiration, just somebody seeing that you can do it, right? So a lot of the people who from Sierra Leone send me a lot of messages on Facebook, many of which I don't respond to, do not really want anything from me. They're just saying, I can't believe you're doing this. I want to do this. This is so great. That's a gift in its own way, right? So there are multiple different ways in which we can do. But I think for me, the most important piece is creating the tools that enable other people to make, creating the space where people can congregate to develop, and being that inspiration through what you do.
You sound very passionate, but how does one keep that passion? Like even people who are in love get bored of each other at some point, maybe. I don't know.
But it's like if you love what you do, it's so much more easy to keep dedicated and to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And when you're giving a difficult task, that's what's driving me to push to take better pictures. And if you're always constantly working on creating a better result, it's easier to be dedicated, I think and hope. But I'm still young, so I don't know.
Keep buying her flowers.
Yeah.
I think also for me, my friends keep me focused. So I went to UWC in Norway, and I still am very good friends with many of the guys who I came out of school with. You always check in. You always go back towards your ideals. You always head back to what's there. So it's the kind of friends you have, right? You need friends around you who will make sure that when you're doing the right thing, they can amplify it. But if you are doing the wrong thing, they can tell you, BS, that's awful. You can't do that. It's hard to have those kind of friends, but you should find them and keep them.
Yeah.
What kind of friends do you have?
Oh. Actually, my best friends are outside architecture in a way. Also, I need to read books that are not related to architecture, although some people tell me to do that all the time. So what I try to do is meet people in their own cultures in different manners. And when you do cultural buildings, for instance, that's easier because the people on the other side of the table are more open to ideas and discussing whatever is happening in the world, especially in a global perspective. I think is where we're moving, is really to look at that as one of the largest challenges. So now my best friends are maybe outside architecture in Saudi Arabia, fighting for the cinema that they want to build for the public of Dammam in Saudi Arabia, the first public cinema. So for men and women, so you know, you can change things through friendships and interactions in different parts of the world. And what happens then is when you do that, you relate it back to yourself and you say, okay, nobody would yell if you built the cinema in Oslo. But yes, they do if you do it in Saudi.
And just wondering, Kyrre, do you know what time it is?
Yeah, it's 20 past 10.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I think we have 10 minutes.
Okay. I forgot my cell phone. I was supposed to just keep it, just to have.
It's your mirror.
Yeah, mirror. What do you think you've been, du har vært inne på det litt, what do you think are the biggest challenge for young people who are like shooting at the stars?
Well, the biggest problem would be if they're shooting for the stars from the beginning. So I would never advise anyone to do that. When I was teaching in Austria at the university in Innsbruck, mainly for skiing reasons, but apart from that, really quite extraordinary is that you allow people to develop their own personalities within what they have. Let's say you're a lazy person.
You're what?
A lazy person.
Okay.
Is that a quality? Yes, it can be a quality to be lazy.
Okay, how?
Yeah, you have to find the core of your laziness. You know what I'm saying? So you start looking for the things, and I gave this student, very, very lazy student, the task, while we were tearing down a building, as sort of a reconstruction of the building by taking it down, nail by nail. His task was to pick out the nails, put a number on the nail, and say what type of iron or steel he thought it was made of, put it in a plastic bag and collect it. Took almost no work. It was a small shed. But his exhibition of laziness with these bags of nails became the most fantastic exhibition, just because he was lazy.
Okay. But
So it's about finding the core of the qualities that you might have and allowing the people that you're actually dealing with on a day-to-day basis to try to search for this, even if they're uncertain.
okay, and in a way, maybe use the qualities that may seem bad as something positive.
Yes.
Okay, that's deep. That's I'll have to think about
Because we have a perception of what is right and what is wrong. But this right and this wrong keeps changing. So whenever we reflect upon right and wrong, we do it always looking backwards, not forwards. So the comparison between the two then ethically does not become right at the moment when you're doing things too late. That's what sort of the mirror neurons in our brain is helping us not to do. Yeah, it's helping me to move forward without just copying you, although I copy you.
Okay, cool. I feel like I believe everything you're saying.
Wow. Okay. I have to change strategy.
Very convincing.
But it does this. I just, you know, sometimes you have this deja vu feeling when, I feel like this has happened before. I just had the deja
A
vu.
collective deja vu.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Does what he's saying make sense to you? In a way?
Yeah, of course, but I think I have a much more or less concrete relationship to it. For me, it's I just keep on going. I don't think so much about what I do and where I want to go. Yeah.
But I think in how I relate to that is the perspective keeps shifting. We can't be still. We're not still. We meet new people. We form new relationships. There are new interactions we have. And so what's right or wrong, what's success and failure, all of those keep moving depending on where you're standing. And I think the more successful people are able to keep moving within this frame and be able to readjust their focus as to what's possible, what's the next step, how do you take advantage of whatever has happened to move ahead. You can't stand still. And so for me, I think that the big challenge really for myself, what I face, and I think for young people who are trying to build a portfolio of creating impact in the world, right? So I feel like whatever it is that I should do and that young people should do should be creating value and some kind of impact for ourselves. And in many ways, if we create value and impact for ourselves, it does extend to our community and it extends to our best friends, to our family, and we can scale that, creating impact. I think to create impact and value is being able to re-understand what's successful and what's failure. Those two things don't really exist.
Exactly.
It's the minute you think about them in that way, that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And how important, if we just to oppsummere hva det på engelsk.
Sum it up.
Sum it up. How important do you think the creativity and passion is for young people?
Well, it's the most important thing, that you can try and follow your gut feeling and try to push yourself. And if somebody wants to be a doctor, they can be a doctor. But if they study and after 10 years want to be an architect, they should do that, I think, because there are so many people that are not happy with their job. So if you can love what you do, that's the best thing.
And you did, in a way, that because you wanted to be a musician.
Cellist, yeah, in some way. And well, I haven't regretted that ever since. So perhaps now I would have been a mediocre cellist, not loving my job, but now I can do what I love and also get paid for it.
Yeah.
For me, I don't have a choice. We don't have a choice but to have young people being the change makers in the world. And it goes beyond saying it. It goes beyond attending conferences to say it. I think we have to act it and we have to enable it. And in many ways, it's if a little kid, your baby, we all learned how to walk, and many of you have kids. You don't say to your little kid, here, let me teach you how to walk. Stand on my feet and I walk with you. You give them something to hold on. You watch them fall, to get up, get a bruise, and they learn to walk. In many different ways and in the things that we do in life, we give people an opportunity to create and to learn from the experience. But we fail to do the same about development. We fail to do the same about youth and creativity and them changing their own world. It's dumbfounding sometimes when you think about it. And I think we don't have a choice. Sierra Leone specifically, I think, has about 60% of its youth are under 30. This number is great in Africa. Spain has lots of youth. I think there's a fundamental error in the assumption that we should create jobs for those youth. We won't be able to create jobs for that huge amount of people. the biggest thing we can do is to enable them to create jobs for themselves and more people to do things and to learn from doing it. I don't know specifically how that's going to happen, and we're doing it. Different people have different ideas, but that's our only solution, really. So it is paramount that we aren't just creative and passionate about what we do, but at the core of it, it's about sharing, being generous enough to enable other people to create and make.
And any thoughts from you?
Yeah, well, maybe. Passion is,
how?
like I said, keeps you going. Creativity keeps you passionate.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you to David Sengeh, Kjetil, Thorsen, and Kyrre Lien.